Hello and welcome to the Burning Metal Halloween special. This is a video I do every year when I get members of the community, past and present and future or whatever, and we just had chat about horror films, starting from the classics and working our way up to modern day. And I'm joined by Mark of Morning of the Heretic, John, formerly of say the name of the band, Menkinus, is it?
Meniscus.
Meniscus, sorry, Meniscus, a bit of a tongue tire. And we have Gareth from Devilsome. And before we start, I don't like to pick out anyone here in particular, but in my early 20s, I was a very big fan of something. I'm a very, very casual fan now. But to have the longest reigning Irish Whip Wrestling International Champion in Mandrake on, if I didn't bring this up, 20s me would never forgive me because I was a huge mark back in those days. So it's an honor to have one of the biggest
Oh,
names in Irish wrestling outside of the heavyweights on, of course.
yeah. Thank you so much. I'm stunned that someone really remembers those days. But great days, great days.
Yeah, you would have been there. Well, we're going to touch on this very briefly. You would have been there when the type like the Sheamuses and the Finn Balor's and all the rest were in there in Irish Whip
Yeah.
Wrestling. Like,
Drew was there as well. He was Drew Galloway back then, and there was Stu Sanders who went on to be Wade Barrett.
yeah,
Yeah, they were all there. Whenever I started and I was training, and I started like you start as a trainee, and then I was like MCing on all those shows, and yeah, they were all really cool guys.
well,
There's probably some stories, but I probably can't say them.
exactly. And we're not here for that reason tonight. But as I say, if I didn't bring it up now, in early 20s me, we would still have it in the back of the head the whole way through the podcast. Mandrake's on, Mandrake's on, Mandrake's on.
We will definitely talk.
Exactly. And no better place than to start our roundup of Halloween horror, but Nosferatu, 101 years old, the daddy itself. We'll take it with you, Mark, and take it from there.
Oh no, that was like I actually have the Werner Herzog version of Klaus Kinski. So that was my first introduction to Nosferatu, and then I was like saw a very appealing about just how grotesque and just morbid and kind of like it's melancholic and it's got this really nice vibe. And I was like, right, because at that time it would have been like Blade Underworld. So he's getting witnessed in the kind of like this kind of more gothic, super gothic when you start doing the whole German expression stuff like that, where you go, wow, this is like eye opening. And I was saying like seeing like just frames of just like simple like 3 seconds of all that is just pause that. That's album cover t-shirts that is perfect. And you can start seeing how it's influence on everything
Mm-hmm.
from like you see it in cartoons and you see it on like I think you see James Hetfield wearing his t-shirts in some of the talk videos. You start seeing how iconic it is just for your osmosis as well too. Just how like just all film that almost was lost because of what the era came out and just the war happening. It could have been just lost if people just didn't find it. I mean,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And John?
Yeah, I mean, Nosferatu, I mean, the most classic name in vampire history, like, but as far as I'm aware, like, wasn't it because didn't they make that movie just because they couldn't get the license to use Dracula? I
yeah,
mean, wasn't it kind of, it was like I don't want to say knockoff because, it was still the first time vampires are coming onto your screen and you're kind of seeing what they look like.
oh no, that was the thing. I think the Stoker estate didn't let them use a lot of the Dracula stuff, so they changed so much. That's why it's called Nosferatu, and that's why it's called like Count Olaf. The German's not that great, so they changed it enough so they did not get sued. And I think that was just kind of like played on the raps. Like,
It's Max, is it Max von Schreck?
yeah, that's the actor. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but like all the stories as well that go from behind it, like through the making of it, he actually acted like a vampire.
oh yeah, it's
You know
proper
what I mean?
isolated and kind of
Yeah, and he'd only film it at night as well. And
yeah.
like I know they made a movie about making it called "Is a Shadow of the Vampire."
Yes, that's well, William Dafoe plays
Willem Dafoe, that's
plays
right. Yeah,
Nosferatu.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like for a movie that was kind of again, I don't use the word knock. I want to say like off license kind of.
Oh, it's like probably like a bootleg Dracula.
Yes, okay, bootleg, perfect. I mean, for a movie like that to get so famous and still be recognized today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like you don't hear too many like, Marvel knockoffs or whatever,
Aye.
being talked about like the way that was. And I think vampires as well, like it really opened the way like for kind of people just to get creative,
Oh yeah.
and like, but yeah, I mean, Nosferatu, what can you say about it? Like, I can't see it as like a modern, something you'd show like a kid nowadays and go, hey, this was a horror film way back when. But like, I think if you appreciate film in a movie, like it's a classic.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right,
Yeah.
Gareth.
Yeah, Nosferatu, very cool. I do agree. Like, I think when I first started getting into horror movies, like when I was a kid, I don't think it would have been something that would have like got me there and then. But like the older I've gotten, the more I've got into horror movies and stuff, I can put it on and I can appreciate like especially the strong visuals and things, and like the vampire design to me is still like the most iconic. It's pretty terrifying, you know.
I don't think it's been copied as well either. Like, you look at like Dracula. I mean, the classic vampire fangs. Like, how many shows and movies have you seen that in? But you rarely see anybody that looks like Max von Schreck. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty rare.
Sure, we'll move on to the next one. So, another one now that wouldn't be regarded as horror now, but at the time it would have been the original King Kong.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, that would have been. Go on, anyone want to jump in there?
Yeah, King
Go on,
Kong.
go on, Gareth.
Like, wow, like, there's like, I think King Kong's an absolute masterpiece, and like, in terms of being like a monster movie and a creature feature, it along with like the original Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I always like it was like the big giant monsters for me. It was like the Godzillas and the King Kongs, but like King Kong, I think as well as it has horror elements, but it pulled a lot in the heartstrings too.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just such a classic all round.
I think it really moved with the like. I think the reason King Kong was successful was it was more like the Bigfoot story. You know what I mean? Like if you look at Godzilla, okay, there's probably not a giant lizard walking around. But I mean, what if there is just a giant gorilla? There was nothing special about it. Like it was just, okay, this is a giant gorilla and he protects these people. And I mean, I think that kind of gives you the idea, like, okay, like you can imagine when that first came out, like, okay, maybe that is out there, you know what I mean? And I think because it was more realistic, I think that's why it lasts longer. Like, I mean, now if you look at kind of the Godzilla movies now and the King Kong movies now, like they're bigger, you know what I mean? It's unrealistically big. But kind of you go back there and, it could be. I mean, so I think that really hit the nail on the head there. And he just kind of went, well, let's just take something normal and just enhance it. And here we are now. We're still making King Kong movies.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Nothing else to say, Mark? No.
I was just going to say it was one of those things where like when it came out, it still had that kind of mysticism of the jungle and the Amazon. So people could be like giant anacondas, it could be like the Lost World, somewhere deep, like Hollow Earth type vibe going on. So I think when you watch King Kong and you watch those movies, you see dinosaurs, you see the kind of stop motion. It really just captures like your imagination when you're young.
Mm.
And then when you get older, you start appreciating how fucking much work goes into just doing those stop motion, and then like compositing shots just to get this gorilla up the Empire State Building must have been like truly
Even
like
to this day, how well it stood up, like it still looks all right, like even now.
And you can appreciate the charm of the kind of jankiness too, because it's like it looks bad, but it's like it still looks good because it has that kind of grit to it. But like we watched the Peter Jackson King Kong, and it's like it's almost too smooth. It loses that kind of fantasy element of it. There was a movie came out like I think it was in the 90s or 2000s called Mighty Joe Young. It's like a Disney version.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was just like not a super gorilla, but just a pretty big gorilla. And I think that was like the closest before Peter Jackson's King Kong. Yeah, it was like the next Kongish kind of thing.
Exactly. And
but
next,
instead of tearing down buildings, he just wanted to cuddle.
Yeah. He just wanted to be loved.
Who do we lean towards, King Kong or Godzilla? That is the big question.
I'm a Godzilla. I'm a king. Like,
Yeah, I think I've
crazy.
got that as well.
I'd
Yeah,
have to go
No, I think
Godzilla because I was obsessed with them. Like when I was a kid, watching them on Channel 4 every Saturday night.
yeah. And then
I
Yeah.
think it was, I think it was the Peter Jackson one, wasn't it, where he got the dinosaur and he ripped it apart by the jaws.
yeah,
And ever since then, yeah, no, King Kong. I mean, why doesn't he do that to Godzilla?
atomic
Oh,
breath. He's got the atomic
Yeah.
breath. Godzilla just
the
walking.
never-ending debate here.
Yeah.
But
That
next
was
on our list we have
even the movie couldn't solve it.
yeah. That's what I say.
exactly.
In King Kong, like doing the original King Kong versus Godzilla, that's kind of ambiguous. Depending on some people say the Japanese release, Godzilla wins. The American release, King Kong wins. So you can't really debate. Like these kind of both fall into the ocean at the end and being like, it's up to you.
They're picking their own sides.
Yeah.
And next on our list we have another classic from that era, the Bela Lugosi era. I only have one of his films for tonight, but it's Dracula, the 1931 Dracula with Bela Lugosi. Who wants to jump in there first?
I think like for me, but everyone knows Bela Lugosi, and Dracula are kind of synonymous. But for me, growing up, I was a Christopher Lee Dracula type of guy.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah, but like there's some great visuals and everything there, and I think he kind of created the Dracula look, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because like we said, the Nosferatu character was was really iconic looking, and then I think in the Dracula book it doesn't really describe him as a handsome, beautiful, charming man. But Bela Lugosi definitely brought a lot of class to it.
He brought the accent as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was that accent, and then ever since then, all the Draculas, apart from Lee, had the Romanian accent. That was like before that, because Nosferatu was silent, so no one knew what Dracula sounded like. Then Bela goes, he rocks on the scene. It's all that's Dracula. That's the voice. And when you do an impression of Dracula, you're doing Bela Lugosi's voice, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so with that creature feature era next, Them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Go on. I think it sounds like Garrett knows this one.
I love them. Like, what stuck out to me with them and is like the strange sound that the ants made.
Yeah.
It stays in your head like forever. You watch the movie once.
In there.
Yeah, it stays there. I thought it was a cool movie. The scene at the end in the sewers, I thought was very cool. It kind of like, in some ways, it felt like a little bit of a precursor to like some of the scenes in movies like Aliens and stuff, where it's very claustrophobic and you don't know where the monster's going to come from. But yeah, I really enjoyed them.
Anyone else got anything to say on Them?
No, I think it's
No.
I haven't seen it, but
Another one from the creature, two from this era, and then we're moving on a bit further down the line. But we have to give it the giant Gila monster. That was just, it was crap, but it was crap in a good way. This really obvious just lizard that they were filming on a camera, and it was groundbreaking in a way, even though it's shit.
It's like one of those movies. Like I love all those like really kind of older movies that like have not dated so well. There's a certain charm to them. Like for me, they're the kind of movies that like I put on in the background when I'm doing something, and just glance over to watch the occasional bit where the creature's on the screen and see how they did it.
Yeah, and we can't cover this era as at all, but it is the Hammer era. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, the Draculas, and what's in this one?
Frankenstein in there too as well.
Oh, we've got the Scars of Dracula, the Mummy. What was the famous one? The Devil Rides Out, Frankenstein, Rasputin. All that era was just like golden. Like there's 21 films in there. Like,
yeah. Like what can, like, where do you even start with Hammer? You almost need like a podcast in itself for that. Just so many classic movies with so many classic actors. Like you said, Christopher Lee,
Peter
Vincent
Cushing.
Price, Peter Cushing,
Yeah.
all those guys. And so many cool movies. The Devil Rides Out, I thought was particularly cool. It was a standout for me. It's the one with it's about the Satanists, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the devil worshiping movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. And it had the big giant spider and the pentagram and
Got the horn guy. It's just like
yeah,
you watch those movies, you go, oh, you start seeing where bands got inspiration from, or it's like, oh, that's from Electric Wizard, that's from this band. You got to start seeing though, like,
absolutely.
I know what you're doing. I know where that comes from. You start understanding references. You're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. What I kind of love about Hammer as well, and it's like I kind of like to hear it in my music and like metal and stuff, is like it's horror, but it has a certain bit of class to it.
Yeah.
A little bit hammy, it's a little bit cheesy, but there's
Yeah.
like a class to it as well. I think that's
like, well, the actors bring that too. Peter Cushing and like Vincent Price and like Christopher Lee, they have those really proper, like stiff upper lip British actors, and you can see outside where Peter Cushing was the Grand Moff Tarkin and stuff like that. It's like they lend themselves so well to these like that kind of Shakespearean strong actors, even if the movie's silly, they just carry it no matter what kind of thing. And you
And
think,
Yeah.
their presence
like,
alone is kind of like, oh fuck, kind of thing.
Well done,
Christopher
John.
Lee as well, he just always had this amazing authority look,
Mm.
you know. So I think that was what was more terrifying of him. You know, I mean, like when you look back on his life and you see all the things he did before he was an actor. I mean, you know, he was in the army and all that, and I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, killed people and stuff like that. So I mean, he's terrifying anyway, you know. But
Yeah.
I find like, especially when you see him in black and white and stuff like that, and you get the, you know, the close up of him. I mean, it's something else. I mean, you're going back like when we were talking about Bela Lugosi. I mean, the same. I'm the very same now. Dracula originally for me is Christopher Lee, you know, because
Yeah.
it just he nailed it, and like he was always just a pleasure to watch on the screen, because it always almost felt like you were in a room with him, because just that intensity, and it's like, you know, you're gonna watch yourself. Like it's just I found that more scary than the idea of him being a vampire. It was just his action, like the idea of being in a room and trying to talk to the man. I find that now would probably be more
Yeah,
terrifying.
he's like
than him being a
6 foot
vampire.
something too, so he's tall and he's just kind of like brick house kind of a guy. And
Yeah.
he's killed people too, so he's like, you have that, oh, this guy's like a real deal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen Dracula 72? I think it is. It's Dracula 72. It's got Christopher Lee in it. It's kind of one of the last Hammer horror movies, I think, that was made. It wasn't really received very well. But it's kind of like Dracula in then modern 1970s. But it's kind of cool. I liked it.
No,
I think
the kind of the Hammer thing was kind of run out of steam at that point, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, they start going kind of exploitive, kind of that kind of the kind of you see him going that where it's like, right, tits, gore, it's frightening. We got a shock value kind of thing too. So I think in some of the stuff they were doing, like I think I don't know how long it lasted, like how long Hammer actually ran production. Because I knew when the Woman in Black came out, I think that I remember seeing that was their big comeback, like movie wise. And then I don't know if they're still making movies or if there's just kind of like the brand now of just Hammer is like the brand, and they kind of stick that on movies to kind of give it some kind of class or kind of history.
Yeah, I didn't see Woman in Black, and I had a sequel as well. Were they good? Are they worth watching?
I really like the first one. Yeah, and because it was just atmosphere, and you it's kind of like that kind of where it's not jump scary. That's kind of like you just see shit in the background. You go.
Yeah.
It's kind of got that rich atmosphere, and it's like if it could have been made back in the heyday of Hammer, the colors would be so much richer. But because it's modern, it's very kind of desaturated. But you kind of see what they're going for, and that's like so kind of like if you know, kind of like vibe it.
Yeah.
But it also works on it as like a watch this movie, it's good. Kind of like,
yeah, cool.
I think everybody. I think when they came out, like it was given kind of a hard pass from people who hated Harry Potter.
yeah,
You know?
because
Like, wasn't that Daniel Radcliffe's big first proper role? And I mean, even now, I mean, I think a lot of people don't like him because they just see an 11-year-old boy, but he's actually quite a decent actor.
oh yeah, I was I think it was Horns, pretty cool. I haven't seen that movie where he's got guns for hands. I haven't seen that yet, but the soundtrack for that's pretty good.
And there was one that was, the name is escaping me now. It was about a guy trapped on an island.
Oh, I think Swiss Army Man.
Swiss Army Man, yes,
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, that was something else.
Sure. Anyways, we'll move on from Hammer now because we could be here talking about it all night. Like it's just, it's a massive, massive series of films. And next on the list, we have a film that actually, genuinely, utterly terrified thousands and thousands of people. It was War of the Worlds. It was broadcast on the radio, and people thought that it was actually happening, that there was an alien invasion.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that was one of the
definitely.
best stories. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, definitely, you can see why people were so scared of that, because it kind of blurred the lines between reality and fiction, and like, with the world wars and war going on, and there was still a lot of that fear going on. So yeah, you could see why that had such a big effect. Yeah.
I think it was like you can consider that the first meta movie, because it was kind of like, even like the narration alone, it's this iconic voice. You hear it, it's like, it's just, now it's fake, but you hear it back then, it's like, it's just imagine people really shitting themselves and panicking and being like running to their cars and like trying to find shelter and stuff too, and not knowing what's going on. But I remember, like, it's
if you tell people that story these days, it's like a real life Black Mirror episode.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of people terrified that Mars was invaded. But I mean, yeah, it's an iconic story, and it's kind of, I think as time goes on, it's getting it to be a bit more unbelievable. But it happened. So.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the remake with Tom Cruise?
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of him running with a little girl, mostly, like,
Yeah, we didn't really get any good payoffs in it. Like, it seemed like when it happened, it was over. You know,
like that scene, they're all coming, all the tripods are coming up, and there's that wah noise, and that's everyone's running and exploding. It's like, that was good. Then it goes Tom Cruise, and it's like, oh, okay, I want to see more alien shit.
There's a Tom Cruise joke we won't tell about him running.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running.
Is there a TV remake of it happening now? World? I
didn't hear that, but I don't think it needs to be remade again, does it?
No. Everybody
will be.
Yeah, the rights will be running up, so they gotta make something, so to keep the rights to it. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
The original will always be my favorite.
Gents, so like, talking about that movie, and like, at that period of time, people thought, all that was going on and it was real, and over the radio, like, it's something, if I kind of zoom forward a little bit, like to when I was a kid, something similar happened to me. Not aliens landed or anything, but there was a TV show on the BBC, and this is genuinely the most scariest, not a film, it's the scariest thing that I ever watched. I literally could not sleep for weeks after it, called Ghostwatch. Don't know if anyone has seen or heard of Ghostwatch, but it was basically, it had a lot of like really popular BBC people at the time. Like, it had Parkinson, and it had Sarah Green, and the guy from Red Dwarf. But basically, it was shot like it was a legitimate BBC documentary. But then, as it went on, all these supernatural hauntings and things that were going on.
I think I might have seen clips of that. It sounds very familiar, seeing like this kind of like found footage almost kind of vibed it. Yeah,
it was a very early found footage, and I think you can watch it on YouTube.
I think that's where I've seen clips of it from. Yeah,
I would definitely recommend it. But like, when I was a little kid, because it lured me into a false sense of security, because it was on just at Watershed, and it had like these people like Sarah Green, who I knew from Saturday morning cartoon time. So you're kind of relaxed watching this, and then all these terrifying things happen, and it scars you.
Oh, childhood trauma, they're the ones that stay with you.
Yeah. Like, now I look at it, and
we get to that.
And next on our list, a film that's getting more and more scary over time, Silent Green.
It's people.
It's people, and this in the year 2022, like their version of our future was a very dystopian, wasn't it?
Mm,
We're not there yet, but.
no.
And next on the list, we're moving into some of the bigger era now. A film that was a lot of controversy around it. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Is it all bollocks? Amityville Horror.
Ah,
Yeah.
Go
That's
on,
the
John.
first mention of Ed and Lorraine Warren actually as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Amityville Horror. I mean, it's getting. They've just done so many of them now. You know what I mean? They've brought pretty much every aspect of it. Like, you know, I think the first one was the original, and then it was like, you know, a family member and another family member, and all the same thing. Different people moving into the house. I think if they had have made it now, after making things like The Conjuring, so we all know who Ed and Lorraine Warren are now, and I think if it was made now, it probably would have been a lot better, especially like the remake with Ryan Reynolds and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know? That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, I find like the whole idea of the Ed and Lorraine Warren thing, and they're like little stories, and they're like, okay, well, you know, I'm a demonologist, and this is true, and this will happen. And the fact that they only hinted to it in one of the Conjuring movies was kind of unfair, because like it really was kind of like the first real idea of, okay, if a possession happened, you know, where's the line there between like mental illness and possession as well, you know? And I found it's just iconic. Really, I loved it.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's one of the
surprised they
rare
haven't-
cases where I think, as a film, the sequel is actually a bit better than the first one.
100%. Yeah, I
One of the
thought the
very
second
rare
was
cases.
better.
I'm not saying I dislike the first one, but the second one was better. The second one scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Is that the
Yeah.
one? Is the pig in the first movie or the second movie? The pig in the window. Is that the first or
The
second
first one.
Oh, first one. Okay.
Just like it's an iconic story, and as unfortunately, this film series has been flushed into the ground now. I think the one with the lamp, I think that was the fourth one. That was when I just after that, then no, gone.
There's been so many parodies of it now where it's like the name itself is just like Amityville in space, Amityville backpack. There's all these different little like there are these movies just because they slap the name on it, be like an exorcism in Amityville or Amityville Asylum. They start doing these things where it's like that's a recognizable name, stick it on the title, and that's hopefully
Yeah.
it sells them.
Put Nicolas Cage in it.
Yeah.
No, it's horrible what's happened to Nicolas Cage. Oh, that is genuinely horror. He's non-verbal now, the poor fucker.
That's Bruce Willis.
That's Bruce Willis.
But who did I say?
Nicolas Cage.
Oh shit! Sorry, I meant to say Bruce Willis. I meant to say Bruce Willis. Fuck.
I was like, what's happening to Nicolas Cage?
Oh shit! Sorry. I done a War of the Worlds there.
Yeah, but terrible with Bruce Willis. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty sad.
And next on our list, we've got a classic, The Omen.
Hey, damn, now we're talking.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still terrified of children. Every time I see one, I check their head for numbers. But
So what are you doing, John? Checking for lice? Yes, lice.
although no, I don't actually go around checking random kids' heads. I don't do that either.
Yeah, well,
But no, the Omen, I loved it as well because it made this, you know, like what's supposed to look like a cute child terrifying, and he didn't even have to open his mouth.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I love that. And the idea then it was bringing into like with the Antichrist. You know, I found like that, and I think any kind of story that loosely drags that into it, especially from that era, like of when the Omen was made, is usually done really, really well because there's not a lot before it. You know what I mean? So, okay, here's the Antichrist. It's a little child, and they made it absolutely terrifying by like everything around them. You know what I mean? And that, like for me, like it's more of an atmospheric horror.
Mm.
Yeah.
Than, like, okay, you should be afraid of the kid, and I think it's just excellently done. I mean, even the part like with the birthday party and the nanny up on the roof, and she just goes, "All for you," and she jumps off. That's terrifying. You know what I mean? Because it's just, again, it was so well done and it's so sincere that, you know, it's easily real. It's
I
realistic.
think that like the Omen ruined the name Damien for so many people as well.
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
anytime I meet someone called Damien, you can't help but hear the theme song in your head. And you're like, but it's so it's. I think it's like up the Omen and the Exorcist have this kind of like it's more of a drama with horror elements in it.
Mhm.
They set it up where it's like the
Yeah.
horror's there and the drama's in the forefront. So it kind of like you almost think, are these people actually believe he's the Antichrist, or is it just in their heads? You're saying like mental illness, is it just like they believe it or not? So it's kind of you can almost go down that ambiguous. Is he an Antichrist or is he just crazy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this-
The third one with Sam Neill, I really enjoyed.
Mm.
I thought it was very good. Some great dialogue in that made for really good song lyrics.
Yeah. Is it the one that is like he's running for president? Is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought Sam Neill was absolutely excellent in it. Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch as well. Second one, I don't really remember the second one.
It was when he was a teenager and he was coming to terms with it all.
He
That's
was
right.
living with a local
When he found the no
old
666 on his head and he's freaking out like, oh no.
Yeah.
No, the one thing that ruined the second one on me was when they kept saying, "We know you were born of a jackal," and it's like, what? Okay, I mean, yeah, but I mean, it was good for me though. Like the third one that you were saying with Sam Neill, for me that kind of falls into like the Godfather 3 category. I know I've seen it, I know it continues the story, but I just can't remember it. It's not memorable for me. You know what I mean?
I watched it recently for that exact reason that I could not remember it. I was like, what is this movie like? And when I rewatched it, I enjoyed it. Yeah. But I'm same as you, like, 10 years ago, I couldn't remember it.
There's a fourth one, but nobody should ever watch that ever.
There was a
it's the
remake
girl,
as well that was
isn't it?
no
Oh, the girl won the fourth one. No. Oh.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
I made the mistake. Don't do it to yourself.
Delilah, isn't it? Delilah or something.
Oh, I can't remember. I blanked it, man. I pretended it never happened.
I love bad horror as much as I love good horror sometimes. I'm kind of cruel
There's
to
a line
myself.
though. There's a line.
The line,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is.
There's only you can only cringe so much, but sometimes you're like, yeah, it's admirable what they're doing. But I remember
Yeah.
when the remake came out. I remember in Derry because it was on the 6th of the 6th, 06, the remake came out, and there's people outside protesting little pictures of the Virgin Mary and stuff too. And we were like, kind of like, I want to see it more now because it's so like you shouldn't watch it. I'm like, well, I'm gonna watch it twice. Fuck you guys, kind of thing.
There was a TV series as well called Damien, and I thought it was excellent. I thought it was very good, but it kind of went
That's
under
like-
the radar.
Never heard of it.
That's not long ago, is it? Is it probably 10 years, or is
Yeah.
it like really long ago? 'Cause I think
No, it's
I
about
remember that.
2016, I think it came out.
Right.
I
And
didn't
it's
see it.
good.
Very good. And next on our list, the original slasher classic, Halloween.
Brilliant.
Go on.
It's one of those things where it's you realize I think that started like the whole trend of like you can make movies cheap and then it'll just make $1 million and pounds and stuff to you, and then like it's like I don't know if it's like you would say the birth of the slasher film, because I know the Italians were doing something similar, or maybe they were same around time, but Halloween is just that kind of like perfect DIY kind of vibe did too, because like you hear stories about them painting the leaves, they fit the atmosphere and stuff, and then the soundtrack is just
Soundtrack makes it.
yeah, like anytime I see like I've John Carpenter vinyls here, but it's just all his solo stuff.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing where it's like even when the new Halloweens came out, it's like I hope the soundtrack's good. That's the only thing I kind of like. Movie could be crap, but as long as the soundtrack's good, I'm happy with that. Just hearing those kind of synths, I'm like, okay, I'm easy pleased with that.
I think what made it really, really popular as well is that, in movies before where you'd have a killer, you just kind of go and kill them. But like with Michael, it's the idea of him standing on the corner staring.
Oh yeah, the stalker.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the stalk. Yeah, exactly, the stalker vibe. I mean, I think that for me, that's what really made it weird. Because there was some movie, I think it probably was one of the new Halloween films or something that came out, and people started doing that, just standing outside people's windows with knives and stuff. Or I think it was It maybe or something like
I
that.
think that came out. I think there was people started doing it with clowns like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
you definitely see like they go like we'll do scary clown shit, but they were just imitating Michael because like only scary clown shit is It and Killer Clowns, but most people just don't have balloons all year round, so they can't really stand outside with balloons. But yeah, Michael just kind of like the shape just being there, and then like the scene where she's like Laura's looking out the window and he's there and he's not there, and then There's that scene where he's driving too, which is I always find it's kind of funny. Just him, I just picture him and the William Shatner mask driving. It's just so kind of like full on stalker vibes, kind of like. But then like the sequels kind of do some weird shit, but then like that's up to people's opinion of whether it's canon or not. Kind of sequels shit.
Well, classic, and of course that series had a varying degrees of after that. Then really hadn't it, but it ended up with this. I'm just gonna bring it in because Halloween Ends.
Soundtrack was good. Soundtrack was good.
Yeah.
This is
like-
mixed. People either like this or they hate it. I don't know how anyone likes it, but okay.
I think it's interesting because it
Yeah.
has it's like the original one. It kind of leaves you with lots of questions. Like, did Michael transfer his essence into Corey? What was the story with that?
Yeah.
Like, the thing that's really cool about Michael and his whole world is like when they avoid explaining things, they just leave it to you to figure stuff out. So although I think as a movie it was kind of a little bit of a mess, there was some like interesting ideas, but I
Yeah.
don't think they quite did them right.
I think
You
where it's
know?
like, especially Halloween Ends, where it's kind of thing where did Haddonfield turn Corey evil?
Yeah.
Because the constant bullying thing, so he snaps and eventually starts becoming like basically a mini Michael Myers. And then like I almost thought they could have done where somewhere he takes over the mantle and just becomes his own killer because he had that the scarecrow mask. It's like, oh, that's the new. He's the scarecrow killer.
Absolutely, that's how they could have carried it on, but
Yeah.
no, they didn't go that direction in the
And
end.
then there you go. No, they stick him in a meat grinder basically at the end. It's like, guys, done. That's him. No more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hated the end, and it was just like, take that, patriarchy, man.
Guys, here's one. Another Halloween is so divisive, but like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Any thoughts?
I was going on for it next.
Why did
Oh,
Well, it's all right. We'll bring it in. Just bring it in now. Go on. Keep going.
why did they call it a Halloween movie? I don't understand that. You know, I mean,
The idea behind it was to make 3
Halloween.
spin-off films.
uh,
Yeah, I
Well,
heard
Gareth?
they're trying to do like an anthology thing. So where they have like one was Michael, the next was thing, and then they're doing like kind of like an anthology, like a Tales from the Crypt type thing. But like Season of the Witch works in the same way as like a Trick or Treat or in kind of VHS. If you put it like in that kind of context, it's its own wee cool thing. But I think it was kind of shackled with the success of Halloween that people went in saying it's like, where's Michael Myers? He's like, well, he's not here. Like this movie's fuck this. So it's kind of like big shoes to fill when it comes to like just the name alone. I think.
I loved it. I thought it was really good. You know, and I think as years have gone by, it's become kind of a classic in its own right. I think there's more positivity towards it than there was like 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, definitely.
I
Yeah.
think it's more popular because of the debate. You know what I mean? I agree with him. Like you have the debate of where's Michael, and I think that's what actually really keeps it popular.
And the Silver Shamrock song just gets stuck in your head.
Oh,
And
that's
it refuses to leave. So what you have that in your head? It's like, fuck.
and a bit like we were saying earlier about it leaves you ending with a question when he's there. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! You don't know if he turned it off or not, or has it still been broadcast?
It was so good. I mean, I loved all that. Like, I definitely, if it didn't have the title Halloween, I think it'd be way more fondly remembered, or maybe it would have been forgotten about. I don't know, but
And
like, I
that
thought
comes
it
with
was
it. Yeah, it's like they have this movie. We got to stick Halloween. Not the same thing with like the Cloverfield stuff. Like when we'll stick Cloverfield on it, and people will see it thinking it's something to do with, or it's slightly tied to Cloverfield in some weird way.
Yeah. They write the scripts, and then they kind of get told, oh, this has to be a Cloverfield movie or whatever, and then they got to figure a way of adding that in.
Aye, last minute. Well, there it's Cloverfield. It's connected there.
Yeah.
And next on our list, I'm gonna let John take the floor here on this one. Let's start. Phantasm.
Yes. Phantasm. Oh wow. I mean, where do we start? You can't just look at Phantasm as one movie. You can't do it. The first movie is so atmospheric. It's strange. It gives you all these questions and gives you absolutely no answers. You know what I mean? You're looking at kind of, okay, who's this? Like, who's the big man? Like, and what
Tall
are the
man,
little
yeah.
things? Who the tall man? You know, and who are the little things running around after him? And I loved it. And the reason I loved it is because after the first one, I immediately watched the second one because I went, I don't understand this. What is this about? Right? And then the one thing I loved about it, and the real thing I loved about it, is the fact that the first one is this really kind of long, drawn out, slow kind of movie, and with little bits of horror. And then it's like the best way I can describe it is like Tommy Wiseau and The Room. No, really. Like if you watch like The Disaster Artist or whatever, you know, and like for me, it's like, okay, they made this really serious film that didn't really land. So then they went, okay, let's put some comedy in.
Right, yeah.
Let's make it ridiculous and go, yeah, it was supposed to be a comedy all along. And I think there's about 5 of them,
There is 5, yeah.
and I loved every one. I mean, man, like it's the story, like it's so silly. I mean, like one of the main characters, and I think it was Randy, isn't it? But
Reggie, isn't it?
is it Reggie? You see,
Reggie. Yeah.
it's been a while now, and the name is escaping me. But I mean, like he was like he was nerdy looking and kind of ugly looking, but on purpose. He had a terrible haircut. You know what I mean? And yet he was this sex magnet, and he got sexier the whole way through. Like, and you know, is that kind of comedy that that really brought to it, and then it made the scarier bits actually scary. And you know, like when you had the bit with the sphere, with the
Yeah.
coming into you, and I thought like the lore and the legends as it went on and on and on, and then when you get to the end and you have the tall man and he actually starts opening up and you find out where he started. Oh, Phantasm, Phantasm should be up there with Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, if you ask me, because
Yeah.
in terms of remembrance. And I wouldn't mind, but I only watched them for the first time a couple of years ago. And so I kind of went, I looked back, I kept seeing it everywhere. Anytime I was looking for like old, really good horror movies, Phantasm kept coming up, and I was like, I haven't seen it. And yeah, I think I watched all 5 of them in about 2 days. Loved
And
it.
he is, in theory, probably the most powerful of the super bad guys of the whole lot. He has so many different things he can do. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And like all he had to do was look in the camera and go, boy.
boy.
That's it, you know, and yeah, iconic.
And next on our list, we have another iconic one, The Shining. Who's going to jump in there?
Like I don't have too much to say. I'm gonna be people are gonna probably hate me for this one, but like I thought it was just okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm not blown away by it. Like don't know.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay, I think the acting and the horror in it, and like what Stanley Kubrick did with it, was really, really good. But if you read the book, you know, it is very, very different. And I
Yeah.
think that's why Stephen King went off and made his own version.
Like a
Which is
TV, like a wee miniseries, like a TV movie as well, and it's like vastly different. So people going in to see that, were expecting Jack Nicholson, like what the hell's going on, and
Yeah, it's like a bootleg one or something. But
yeah.
I think he wanted to make it in his own in the vision. Like have you read the book?
Oh no, I've seen it's like no, like I think it's like I've only read some stuff, but not sit down and read all this stuff because Stephen King's never really appealed to me. Like I like Pet Cemetery and stuff like that, but I think I was happy with like, oh, I've seen The Shining. Again, well, I can see like what's the difference videos on YouTube. Like, I get the gist, and then kind of like,
Yeah, I mean, like the original story was mostly just about an alcoholic who was going out to try and stay sober, and you know that's kind of where like all the rage and stuff comes from. But you know, as you can see, like in the movie as well, like they kind of do address it, but in the book, like it's a lot deeper, and as well, the character, like his wife, is like this kind of strong, positive woman as well. So it is very, very different. A lot of it kind of can be relatable to the film, but Stanley Kubrick, most of that film was his own vision.
oh yeah,
And you know, if you look as well, there's like videos on YouTube, and I think there's like documentaries and stuff. Like nearly every scene in that thing, in the movie itself, like every scene is on purpose. Every background item is on purpose. You know, he turns things certain ways so you're supposed to see it, and it's yeah, it's great. I mean, but also I remember watching it with a girl once, And when she turned around, she goes, "I think he's possessed." I never saw her again.
I like the fact that it was done on the lib as well too. Like the scene, here's Johnny's scene. She had no idea he was going to come through the door with the axe. She genuinely got a real big fright from it. Like,
Yeah, they had to give him a heavier axe too. Because yeah, I think it was a heavier one they had to give him because he was able to get through the door too quick. Something like that, yeah, or lighter.
before we move on, have it the sequel, Doctor Sleep. Any thoughts, anyone?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I loved where they went with it, and every character I think that they brought back, like the guy who was supposed to look like Jack Nicholson, the one who was supposed to look like the mother, the caretaker, and I thought it was done really, really well. And the story I found was more interesting than The Shining.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's like energy vampire type things. Yeah.
And the fact that I remember when I used to work in a cinema back in those days, and I seen there was this a sequel to The Shining coming out, and I was just like, oh my god. I waited a few days and let people I know go in. I'm like, I'm not. Is it actually worth watching? And they said, yes, it is. And I was just like, good. Because
Yeah,
I
I
did not.
remember.
Because The Shining was, I scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, so it's a beloved film to me. So I didn't want the sequel to fuck it up. Like,
It's shocking to see like such a well-made adaptation of an old, like a sequel to a really old movie now, But I was shocked as well. I mean, the first thing I noticed about it was about 3 hours long, wasn't it?
yeah.
And I went, oh God, this is going to be terrible. And I got stuck into it the second it started.
Mhm. And next on our list, George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. That's the super collector's edition. Who wants to jump in first on this?
I wish I had Joe here. Joe, my bandmate, Joe McGuigan from Gamma Bomb. He is the biggest Dawn of the Dead fanatic I have ever met in my life, to the point where like he buys memorabilia, like tiny things that were on the set, and international, like the Japanese poster, like when the movie came out. He's just obsessed with the movie. Yeah, but like it's a good movie, so I can kind of see that, you know.
That's like one of those movies. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's just that kind of like, it's a weird thing because I know that in certain places it's just called zombie or zombie. Like I know that there was a lot of like weird license thing, and then like is it Lucio Fulci? He does his own version, and it's like, yeah, it's one of those movies where it's like, I know it's so difficult to get. It's not. I don't think it's on any streaming services, or it's very difficult to find just copies of it. It's like, I don't know if it's changed now since it's like Phil's got the box set, but I knew back then it was like you had like either one disc of it and that was it, and anything
That
else.
box set has sold out years. That was only available for a limited time.
Yeah, that's it. It's like
I think you had a
reason.
week window to get it before it was gone.
Yeah, it's like it's so difficult to get. It's so strange. You can probably walk into like anywhere and can't pick up a copy, but trying to find it new or whatever is so difficult. But that's like a no, Dawn of the Dead. It's like, I think that's like, it's on about that charm to it too. And I like Day of the Dead more. I just like that more bleak atmosphere to it. But Dawn of the Dead has that kind of, it's just this. I know it's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's got so much good quotes in it, and it's usually I love like this seeing like Tom Savini in it, and he's like just loves to seeing him like just a lot of thing. And we go, that is a good time, and then you kind of look at it and like, this will kind of kick everything off. This is like the granddad. Everything else is like ripping off Dawn of the Dead, or it's just homaging Dawn of the Dead. I mean, like the remake, even like the remake, I thought the remake did, like, strangely enough, like most people like that more than the original because it's so more chaotic. But the remake's good, but it just doesn't have that charm. It's like it's more like a cynical, more cynical than the original one.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, Dawn of the Dead's the shit.
And next on the list, I've got my typical curveball one that I put in every time. You're either going to know this and love it, or you'll never have heard of it. Dreamscape.
I've heard of it, but not seen it.
No, like
it fell under the radar completely, but it's got Dennis Quaid in it and a bunch of others. Like,
well, it's got Dennis Quaid. That's good enough for me.
Dreamscape. Check that out. That's my curveball that nobody's ever seen. I'll get one in every year. But you've all seen this one, American Werewolf in London.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Werewolf movies. That's an interesting one. I liked American Werewolf in London. I thought it was like fun. It had some cool scenes. It's definitely not my favorite werewolf movie though. Is that controversial to say?
No,
No.
it's doing a.
Depends.
What would be your,
really
your
well done.
favorite horror?
Go on, John.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was really well done though for the time, you
Transformation
know?
scene.
Oh yeah,
But I mean, even the scene like at the very first scene when they're walking through the woods and it's dark. I mean, it is quite terrifying. It really, I think, well, like it painted England kind of the wrong way, but it kind of, that's what Americans think when they see it. But I thought it was excellent. Like I thought the idea of the transformation was excellent. I loved the idea of kind of, he was seeing the hallucinations as well as it went on. I thought it was pretty good, but again, yeah, probably not my favorite werewolf movie either.
I like seeing Rick Mail in it. I was very surprised when I
Yeah.
first watched it. I was Rick Mail, and I was just kind of like, cool. But like, American Werewolf had this like, it's just the transformation scene, and some people are kind of shocked when it's actually there's a lot of comedy in it. A lot of people they expect it to be straight. This is like the Howling. This is going to be another like werewolf film, but it's got comedy to it, and it's kind of like whenever I first time I seen it, I was like, oh, it's funny. You weren't expecting that, but then like the whole movie is just to get to that transformation scene and just how tortured the guy is just going through this whole ordeal. And I think ever since then, every kind of werewolf movie has to have their own. Let's do our own American Werewolf transformation in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. What is everyone's favorite werewolf movie though?
Dog Soldiers. I really like Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is great. Yeah, it's a great
Oh,
movie.
God, I love Dog Soldiers. For me though, I think it's Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Oh God,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, wow, that's a cool one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't watched that in quite some time. It's really good.
No, it's been a while for me too, but I think that was definitely my favorite one. Yeah.
And
Has anyone seen Wolfen? A movie
No.
called Wolfen. It's very good. Other werewolf movies I really enjoy. There's a early 90s movie called Bad Moon. Yeah, you can tell I watch a lot of really bad horror. What is the other ones that are particularly good? Silver Bullet.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I really like Silver Bullet. Stephen King. And Gary
Sleepwalkers was alright
Busey
too.
is in it, isn't he?
Oh, I can't remember. Sleepwalkers was alright too.
Sleepwalkers. It's the cat people one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a different one actually. Yeah, I'm getting I seen Silver Bullet 25 years ago at least. That's all I know.
Try it again. It's good. It's good.
And next up on the list, we've given a bit of love to the whole Ozploitation era Turkey Shoot. Anyone seen that?
No.
No, Turkey Shoot. It's like it's hardcore for the time, but you watch it now, it's not so much. But it fucking genuinely shocked people at the time. Like it's just, and that's Doink off Crocodile Dundee.
Oh wow.
He was a wrestler. You know that, Gareth? You did.
Yeah, I did
You
know
knew
that.
yeah. He was a big name in the Australian hardcore scene back in the day.
Yeah, crazy guy.
It almost sounds like a trauma movie. There was the title was like I thought it was Trauma, but I was like, no, I don't think it is. It's
No, it's worth looking up. It's on YouTube for free. Next up, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Cool.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really good. For me, like it's a great movie. The bit at the start where Leatherface like clonks the guy out of nowhere with the hammer and like drags him off. That is like the movie for me. That scene itself is just so cool.
steel door slabs.
Sound of the
Just,
hammer.
Go on, John.
Oh, for me, it's the sound of the hammer.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was
his
it.
legs.
That said it. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, like that film was. If you want to kind of go like look at minimal in terms of like the sound effects, and as I said, like the hammer scene, and like every time you hit a body, it stuck with you. You know what I mean? I thought it
It's
was
like that scene where he puts the girl on the meat hook. It's just like it's like less is more, almost like how many little things to just, and that's her on it. It's just so more like intense because it's not like a big sting of music or
And I think the scene when they're all at the table, could you imagine being sitting at that table with them all around you? Like, that would be the most terrifying moment of your life, been sitting there, they're like, oh my God.
it's kind of like the smell of what that place would be like, just meat and like damp wood. It's just that kind of vibe. It's like and sweat. I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre always reminds me of sweat because it's Texas.
Yeah.
It's imagine like everyone's always so sweaty in it.
Yeah.
And next up on our list, The Thing.
Oh man, the thing is absolutely,
Yeah.
you know, in terms of creature features, that brought it to life, you know. So many people didn't like it, and it took so long for it to get made as well. They were saying, and I mean, even when you look at Kurt Russell in it, you know, his
Yeah.
hair and his beard, all natural and everything. He grew it out just for that, like so. For me, that was like one of the most terrifying monster movies. One of the first terrifying monster movies I've ever seen, and loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, the sound design and just the creature of the thing, which is that screech of it just getting like stretching, and it's the whole like ordeal of that just what's going on in the hands, like when it's like Wilford Brimley's doing like the chest thing and that opens up. But that's another one of me, which like it's a remake in itself because it's like original from the Thing Beyond is the original one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like it's eclipses that, so people go, "What's a remake?" Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. You actually see, I think it's in like Halloween. They're actually watching the original thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, just got that. It's just you're watching it just from the practical side of it, and it's just like still watching. Going, how the fuck did they make this, and how did it work, and just how like it's like, okay, we have one take at this because trying to redo this again it must take forever just to get certain things and like.
The way they put the paranoia, the way they got that across, really
Yeah.
made it like, because they had never had a clue, like, and you'd believe that they were in a really paranoid situation, like.
Mhm. John Carpenter is the best, like in terms of
Yeah.
horror, in my opinion. You know, as a director, the music, everything
Yeah.
he touches is generally gold. I know there's like Ghosts of Mars and things like that, but like there's definitely way more like true classics
Yeah.
than there is duds.
Absolutely. And on the same kind of similar line, but not sci-fi typing, Alien.
Oh, wow.
Go on, Gareth. So.
Like amazing, just like it plays on so many like fundamental fears that we have as human beings. And the alien design is the H.R. Geiger, obviously, but like it's exactly that. It's so alien, and with the face huggers and the aliens, even the look of them just makes you feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The fact you don't get very much screen time with them, you just see wee bits of them here and
Shadows
there.
stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
It really plays into that atmospheric horror as well, but also like with a sense of claustrophobia in it too. I always like that about it. Because I mean, I think it wasn't the first time you see the actual alien for the first time, you know, when he's kind of hiding up in the pipes.
Yeah, it's the chicks hanging down. It's like
He's right there. You know what I mean? I like that about it. Yeah.
It's just like the spit and this the drill dropping down because it's in that scene, where it's like kind of wet anyway, so it kind of blends in even more, and it just kind of drops down, and it's just that kind of it's the sheer presence of this kind of like an alien creature, and it's Geiger's work is just phenomenal. Where it's just got this kind of like so like eldritch, you don't know what it is you're looking at. Then it's got the second mouth, and you don't know what's going to happen next. And it's like, then it's like, oh, it's got acid blood. Like, oh, it's got acid blood now. You don't know what else does it have, kind of thing. There's like face huggers, and there's a whole. You go down that whole alien road. Then,
yeah, I have a big appreciation for it now because I went to the Alien Day in the cinema there a few months ago, where they showed the first two of them back to back. Because when I was a kid, I seen Aliens first.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get into Alien because Aliens just absolutely blew my mind. But when I go back and watch it there that day, I was just like, yeah, this is a classic. Go on, John, you're going to say something?
I can one up you there. First Alien one I saw was Resurrection.
That was the first one you seen?
The first one I seen. I didn't watch another Alien film for about 10 years.
What do we prefer, Alien or Aliens? Which is everyone's favorite?
I think it's a preference because Alien and Aliens always reminds you of Terminator 1 and then Terminator,
Terminator
2.
2, yeah.
It's got that one
Ah,
slightly slower and then one's more action. So that always
Yeah.
depends on what mood you're in. You want like, yeah, I want to just watch atmosphere and kind of suspense. You watch the first one, and you want action, you go Space Marines, you go 2. So it's
Well,
just
I'll have to say the second one because it's one of my favorite films of all time.
it's good. In terms of Terminator, I always felt like Terminator 1 is like a horror chase movie,
oh yeah,
and
it's
Terminator
relentless.
2 is like a kid's movie. It's to sell toys.
Yeah,
And like the main character is like a kid, so like you could definitely relate to him and everything. Like I know a very violent kids movie, but it had like Guns N' Roses in the soundtrack and this young
oh yeah.
cool kid, you know.
It's
Whereas
funny like that was that kind of you would get toys for kids for Terminator and Alien and RoboCop that weren't. It's I'm like I remember playing with these toys. I'm like I'm not allowed to see the movie yet, but I know of these characters just free just toys and comics. And I think it's just fun. Like
So there's skins in Fortnite now.
yeah,
oh boy,
yeah, a RoboCop skin in Fortnite, and it's like if they know the scenes I'm thinking of, like I don't think they've seen that scene.
Oh,
no,
RoboCop for me is probably like one of the best films ever made. But that's just because I love everything about it. But sorry, when you're talking about Terminator there, I had this dream once where I was actually being chased by the Terminator, like from the first one. And you remember that bit in the movie where he's like, he doesn't sleep, he doesn't stop. And I had this, like it was one of these really vivid, terrifying nightmares. And yeah, I woke up and I remember I went out and I bought the collection, and like I've loved everyone since. Like again, like I suppose it's the idea that Arnold Schwarzenegger was one of the biggest action stars when I was a kid. So the idea is seeing him like as a monster, and
Yeah.
a robot and
Like
murderers.
it's funny thing about the Terminator is similar to Mike Myers, Michael Myers,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's that relentless.
Yeah.
You don't see him sleep. He's always just
There.
aye.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I seen Terminator 2 in the cinema. That absolutely blew my mind.
Mm.
Because in 1991 or whatever it was, seeing that on the big screen was just like what am I
Oh, yeah.
watching? This is just the future is now.
Yeah, isn't
Yeah.
it considered the best sequel ever made?
Mm.
And next
sequel.
on our list, we all know this one, The Exorcist.
I have a real issue here now because we should have taken a minute to the last meeting, I think, but you told me that someone had said it was shit.
Yeah. The last podcast Tasha was on, she said it was shit.
Oh my God. No, I mean,
You
right,
thought your
okay.
opinions were controversial, Gareth.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, maybe this will be controversial. I don't think it's bad, but I find it a hard watch. As in, it's so dark and foreboding, and like you watch the movie, and at the end, you don't feel levity. It's just this. It's such a heavy movie.
It has a
You know?
conclusion, but that you don't feel like happy afterwards. It's like, yeah, that's it. Oh, it's done.
Yeah,
I
it's
I
just
would-
hard.
Yeah.
I'm theory about it though. Okay, so the year it was released escaped me. It was the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It's 70s,
70s, yeah.
70s. Okay. But my theory on The Exorcist is, right, at that time, you were kind of getting a lot of people who were still, like we're talking like parents and grandparents at that age,
Yeah.
were still very religious, right? And kids weren't. Like, well, it's not they weren't, is that it was kind of fading a bit more, and then The Exorcist comes out and it gives you this idea of the devil can possess you and a priest can save you. And it's kind of, for me, like you hear about people, thrown up and fainting and all that in the cinemas when they were watching it at the time. I imagine that was older people because they like with such in that era, like the religious belief was quite strong and it was fading. And I think The Exorcist was like a last push to kind of go, okay, Catholicism can actually save you. Like I think it was done like I think for who it was aimed at, I think it was done really well. And you hear people now go, "Oh, it was shit. It was funny." That's the one that gets me. Oh, The Exorcist was hilarious. For me, it was absolutely terrifying. I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep in a double bed for about 4 years after. Yeah,
The
and
thing
I
is,
don't
like,
know.
I always feel like anything that like this that has like the fact the main character is like a child in it is
Mhm.
like, oh, that's
Yeah. It's the
it's
corruption
like
of
it's like
innocence type vibe.
children and dogs, leave them alone. Like if you
Yeah.
kill a dog in a movie, I'm turning the movie off.
Uh,
I'm done.
It's funny when you say it, like with like it's the demographic when the extras came out, so it would have been a lot of older people going to see it anyway because it would have been 18 over here or rated R in America. And
Mhm.
that whole thing where because it was based on a book, which is based on accounts of the exorcisms and stuff, it has that kind of like almost almost based on a true story kind of feel to it. But then like
Mhm.
Yeah.
the scenes where people remember now more is from the director's cut, where, like the spider walk and stuff, and like
Yeah.
I think now, if I can imagine like in Ireland at that time, that would have been super. Like you're not watching the Exorcist, that's cursed almost because it's so
That's what
blasphemous
happened to
at times.
me.
It's
Yeah.
like
I mean, for me, I remember being a kid, The Exorcist was something that nobody was allowed to watch.
yeah,
And you
that's
know,
it.
if
You know
you
how to
went to
watch the
school,
Exorcist, yeah,
yeah, if you went to school and said, I saw The Exorcist, you were cool. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
Yeah,
if
my
you said it
mother,
was
who's
funny, it
70,
wasn't
she's
cool.
seen it in the cinema with my father, and she wasn't right for about 3 weeks afterwards.
but you can't. You miss that type of effectiveness. You watch any movie now, you're like, You
Yeah.
kind of wish the experience that raw seeing people faint. Like you don't get that anymore. You don't get
Mm.
the fear, like
No.
that really like kind of like the closest thing I got to that was during COVID, was seeing people scared of people walking outside. So you kind
Yeah.
of got that
That was
28
that
days
was a
later
real
vibe.
horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, look, people just seeing the curtains twitching, and you're like, I'm only going to the shop, and people are like, what's going on? And then it's that fear. I'm like, I was kind of okay. That's the closest thing you'll get to that kind of. Well, that's real world shit, like not
Oh,
Exorcist.
sure.
Have
Good
we
point,
seen
though.
Exorcist 3? Has anyone seen Exorcist 3?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
That's
the
the one with the iconic scene of the nurse, right?
yeah,
Nurse, yeah, yeah. I liked it. I thought it was a really cool movie.
yeah. Like I work in the cinema, and like I'm seeing like this kind of trend now where it's the name brand. No one says Exorcist Believer. It's just Exorcist.
yeah.
So like they're going to see it and it's doing okay, but people are literally only going to see it because of just the name. You stick any other name on it, no one's going to give a shit. It's the same thing with Amityville and the same thing with
That's
like
crap, I knew, though.
it's
There
the
was
same thing where it's like it's name recognition. So you stick that on and then hopefully people will
Have you
like
watched it?
there was one I watched called, it was an Exorcist, it was a beginning, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, that's like that they made that twice. So like they made like Extras Dominion and then the beginning. And it's like a weird story behind that where it's like one studio had it, then they re-edited it and then re-released it, and then like it was a whole thing. Regards, I think it's the one anyway. It's got one of the Scars guards in it. I can't remember his
Yeah,
first name.
the father, isn't it?
Yeah,
Stellan. Yeah, they made a series of it too, actually, which kind of it tried to continue on from the first movie. I didn't think it was bad actually. It's recent as well. They did 2 seasons of it, and they kind of bring in like kind of other priests, but they have the child as a grown up as well or something like that. And it was actually done quite well. But I don't think you can mention The Exorcist without mentioning the Leslie Nielsen movie Repossessed.
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
That was
There's some scenes in Repossessed that remind me of the new Exorcist. I'll be watching scenes in it. I'm like, that's straight out of the Leslie Nielsen one. I can just see like how that works in this one. I just can't help but picture it now in my head.
And next up, Friday the 13th. That's just the box that I have range. So it's a very broad spectrum, but my opinion,
Yeah.
the first one is my favorite, even though Jason isn't in it.
Yeah, it's and I think that's like that whole series. It's just when they like we can milk this, make the sequels. We'll constantly do it. Like how new creative kills, like, and it's funny like all these movies they get released and they all get immediately edited and censored because of how graphic it is. So like when you have the Blu-ray, you probably get like deleted scenes of extended gore scenes or behind the scenes like, oh, here's what I had to cut because like whatever like censorships came in and censored like Friday the 13th. Like I can't remember like a list of like I'm trying to remember all like the video nasty list, all the banned kind of films. And I don't know if Friday the 13th was on it. I'm not too sure.
For me, I don't know, Friday the 13th, it just gave me too much Halloween vibes. You know what I mean? It was another huge guy in a mask. I get the story behind it. I thought was quite interesting, and I'm like, you know, a horrible admission is that probably my favorite thing to do with Jason was Freddy versus Jason. You know, but I found They went too far with it, I think, Friday the 13th. You
Oh,
know,
sure,
with the
that's
space. So
the Alec as a trilogy probably would have
Hmm.
been a lot more remembered, you know.
Still an
I
iconic
like the
series.
silliness. I kind of thought this, like for me, like I think they kind of had to get silly because, in
yeah,
a sense, because like there's only so much you can do with the character, so they had to put the character in all these outrageous places. Like, well, you know, the party is supposed to be Manhattan, but like when you watch the movie, it's on a boat and
yeah.
5 minutes in Manhattan, and space and all those things. Like Jason and Michael, they are very similar as characters, really, aren't they? They're hard to like differentiate. One is more supernatural, I think, than the
I think
other.
because like I always like to believe that there's a whole theory that Jason's a deadite because like I can't
Yeah,
remember what Friday the 13th it is,
Oh.
but you see the Necronomicon and like the
yeah.
dagger of I can't
Jason
remember the name.
Goes to Hell. That one. That's
Yeah,
Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah, but I mean, wasn't the idea then after Freddy versus Jason to make Freddy versus Jason versus Ash or something?
yeah, that was the
Yeah,
plan, and then there was
Yeah.
like trying to get Pinhead involved as well at some point.
and then someone mentioned rights of lawyers, and then it never
I'll forget about
So
it.
much lost potential.
Exactly. And next up on our list, one of my favorite horror films, full stop, The Fly,
Oh, brilliant!
the
Yeah,
Jeff Goldblum one. What a film.
yeah. It's probably the ultimate like body horror movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
You like Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, both unbelievable like performances in it as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it was before
it's
Jeff Goldblum started just being Jeff Goldblum and everything.
yeah. It was pre Jurassic Park, so it's kind of like
Yeah, that's it. I mean, it was.
that's like
it
the
was
Flies kind of got that same thing with the Thing. It's based on like an older movie, and it just kind of eclipses. Like I love the Vincent Price one, but when you say the Fly, everyone goes to Jeff Goldblum, the Fly.
Mhm.
It's not. It's but it's even that. I think that's like the perfect. That and the Thing work so well together because of the body horror, and the practical effects in it, and it's just yeah, it's really good. Like I can watch that and be like yeah, I can just fascinate by like how did that just returns and this stuff, and it's just that psychological thing of like Gina Davis thinking she's pregnant with this fly, and it's just kind of super grotesque shit.
yeah. Anyone seen Fly 2?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
It's not as bad as people say it is, but it's not very good.
The dog scene's kind of sad though.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've never seen the fly too, but I know that scene, and I just
But he gets his comeuppance with that fucking lift in the end, though.
Yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah.
It was all right.
It was
It
okay.
shouldn't have been made, but it was all right.
Hmm.
Next up, Hellraiser.
Oh yes. Oh man, like the first. Let's see. The first three.
First three. After that,
First three. Yeah. They just kept going with it. I mean, Doug. Is it Doug Bradley? Isn't
Doug
it?
Bradley, yeah,
Doug Bradley. Like, I mean, he's some sport for keeping it going for so long, even when it just got absolutely ridiculous. But I thought the first one was just so well done, and I think it had that kind of Evil Dead vibe. You know, it was like real cheap. Well, I suppose like like with most of it taking place like in the one house. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Clive Barker. Like I always found, like with his ideas, it's always kind of more the details, you
Mm.
know. And there was one thing I loved about it, and um, I thought as they kind of went on, the story got like into like how the box was made, and you know, I thought it was really really well done.
yeah.
There was probably it was a bit I don't know, I suppose like camp at the time, with all like the leather and stuff like that. But it worked, it really did. And Hellraiser again, Pinhead, like he wasn't even supposed to be called Pinhead. He was
So it's just like the hell, like in the book, it's like a hell priest or a hell priestess.
yeah.
It's one of those kind of, but like Hellraiser is one of those movies where it's got that Britishness to it too.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
got that it has this vibe where it's so much like what happens in the movie is like a small snippet of what's going on behind the scenes with the like the box, the whole event configuration. You got the Leviathan. You have all these different like so much lore behind each thing, and as the sequels go on, you learn a bit more about it and stuff too. But I think the whole practical, and just Doug Bradley's cool. That's just like that voice and some of the quotes he comes out with. It's just like, yeah, that's
Yeah, and that real we've got such eyes to show you.
I always say like no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering. I always quote that. Just when people are like, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering. I mean, it's
Do you know I read that when he wasn't in costume, nobody recognized him.
oh yeah, I
Absolutely
can imagine
nobody.
so.
Yeah. I mean,
He's
he's been
done the
standing with
narration on that Cradle of Filth track or Ghost in the Fog.
Oh, he's that
Yeah.
whole album. Midian is like Midian takes place in the Clive Barker Nightbreed thing. So he's like there, well, get Doug Bradley because that's it. And then he's appeared on like a bunch of different other Cradle stuff too because they're
Yeah.
close friends. So, Doug, can you say this line? Yeah, say it. And that's see, he's got like Danny Phelps got like all these Hammer horror actresses and actors and like horror movies on speed dial. So I need a line. Say something. And
Yeah.
that's it.
I'll send you a tenner.
Yeah, that's it. Before Cameo, it was like just ringing up people. It's like, say this for me, and that was it.
Yeah.
And I've got another obscure one for you now, lads. The People Under the Stairs.
I know this.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah,
I
that's
saw
cool.
that years ago.
Yeah.
I think is it Jordan Peele? He's in talks of redoing it.
No.
Like,
Don't.
I've heard rumors that he might be like doing his own version of The People Under the Stairs.
Leave it the way it is.
Yeah,
but
I think
Yeah,
I think that
like the
film was
movie.
great because it was misleading. You know what I mean? You think
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing's going to happen. Yeah, not quite. And that's the one. That's kind of most what I remember about it was really misleading, and it paid off.
Oh yeah, because you don't expect where it goes. Because you just
No.
see Vig Rhames breaking into a house of this kid, and then you don't know what they expect. As soon as they get in the house, you don't know what's going on. It's like Home Alone with traps and secret walls, and like you don't know what's going to happen next.
Good film. Next up, so another series that's hit and miss, but overall iconic. A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
Yeah. Freddy Krueger, the Dream Demon, probably like, you look at like Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, that era of characters. Then in the 80s, you had like Jason, Michael, and Freddy. And Freddy was definitely like the Dracula of the group,
Oh, yeah.
wasn't he?
he was like
Definitely.
like Miramax was the house Freddy built. That was the thing they
Yeah.
said. It's just like, but actually, I got like this big soundtracks to all of them. I'm a fan of the movie, so it's like the Box of Souls from Mondo made out.
Wow.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
That is amazing.
yeah. It's all like I have yet to play all of them, but it's just like the soundtrack for like Nightmare on Elm Street's up there as well too. It's often overlooked when you hear like Halloween, Exorcist. People seem to forget that Friday the Nightmare on Elm Street has a theme song. It's
Yeah.
often overlooked too. But
Yeah.
if like Doc can play on a song,
Yes.
Maybe
Dream
it's-
Warriors, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
Dream
yeah.
Warriors.
Everyone,
Yeah.
they have
It-
that kind of that goes in like the classic heavy metal horror. It's like we usually get from like the 70s, 80s. That's it's two merge, and it becomes this kind of like you can't have one without the other type vibe to it.
It's so
Yeah, and
original.
definitely, like, it was one of those meta horrors in the sense of like, what one is it? A New Nightmare kind
Yeah,
of played on that a lot, didn't it?
yeah, like they have like Wes Craven's actually in it playing Wes Craven, so it's got that. Yeah, it's like pre-Scream. You can see where he was going from Scream from the Nightmare like that. Yeah,
What is your version on the remake? Your take on the remake? Jackie Earl Haley.
it lacked. It was trying to do the thing, and I know Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is like very serious. So like with the remake, they're trying to make it super serious, but by that stage, you already had like Freddy versus Jason, so people were expecting almost like quippy, funny Freddy
Mhm.
kind of gags, and then you have this kind of like full on child molester, and it's not fun. I think it
Yeah.
got that.
But like I found that when you watch the Nightmare on Elm Street films, like when you go through the series, it seems to like kind of drip out the story as it goes. And
Yeah,
that's the one thing I really liked about the new one, is that okay, for me, Jackie Earl Haley in Watchmen was just phenomenal. And
well, his Rorschach's cool, yeah, and he's got the voice. I think the voice he has is very good.
Mhm. And I loved him as Freddy Krueger. I really did. I loved that movie. Now, when I first watched it, I went, okay, this is not the same. This is slightly different. And what is different? What am I missing here? And it's humor. Okay, Freddie England, yeah, England, whatever. He was amazing at it, but he was also really good at throwing in that humor, and he could get away with being terrifying and cheesy all at the same time. Jackie Earl Haley couldn't do that, but I thought that the remake was a more complete film
Yeah,
because
I know
it
what you mean.
gave you more than it gave. I found it gave you more in one movie than say the first five.
But it's got, I think, with like a character like Freddy Krueger, it's got that thing where people are so accustomed to like Robert Englund playing him, it's hard to recast him. So it's almost
Yes.
like it's gonna be that thing when they recast Wolverine, it's gonna be the same thing where it's like it's iconic. Like Mark Hamill, you can't really, like he's always gonna be Luke Skywalker or stuff like that. You have like here's a new Freddy. It's like, is it Robert Englund? No, well, people automatically be like, no, it's not the same. It's just that kind of.
Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon would make a good Freddy Krueger.
Oh yeah, you just need something like a cool voice and then like a very like imposing figure. Like, but it's hard. It's like you don't know what like the state of horror now. You don't know where they're going to go with things, or
No.
like I thought with like the last season of Stranger Things, I thought that was like Vecna was just Freddy. The whole time I'm like, that's just they could just do a Freddy TV show that's set in Elm Street, and you could just have Vecna basically do what they were doing that, and then it would have been perfect.
Hmm.
And
But I
next
remember
up,
when I was a kid and we watched that first, it's the idea that like, he's gonna get you in your nightmare. There was no escaping that, and like
Mm.
uh, that, I find that might have left an impression. You know what I mean? Because
Oh yeah.
like yeah, Freddy Krueger. I remember, like I do. I remember as a child, it was terrifying.
Well, you
Now.
have that you don't know the weakness because usually it's like right, you have Frankenstein's fire, werewolves of silver bullets. You have these things. What combats Freddy? You can't like the one place you think you're safe is in your sleep, and then
Coffee.
it's like yeah.
and next up, one we touched on earlier briefly, but has to be included: Child's Play.
Oh, Brad Dourif as Chucky is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's my iconic horror voice for me, and I think we were talking earlier about when Mark Hamill redid it, and for me it'll always be Brad Dourif. I mean that iconic laugh,
Yeah.
and what I loved about it as well is the idea of when he was doing those crazy scenes where Chucky was really going for it. Brad Dourif used to go outside and run around the studio and get out of breath and go in and scream the lines. And every time I watch it and I hear him go from like soft to that's all I can picture. But no, for me, Child's Play definitely up there with one of the best horror movies and ideas of all time. Especially the first one, when it gets into all the voodoo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of new because if you just went, okay, look, there's a doll that's going to kill you. It's like, okay, but hang on, wait, it's possessed by the soul of a serial
Serial
killer.
killer. You get Dembala, the voodoo god, and start doing all this.
It was so well done.
Like,
And
a question I always had about Child's Play, Nick Chucky, like, does he have the strength of a doll, or is it still the man strength?
yeah, I never got that either. That always kind of got to me. Like, but I like to think that maybe he did because I think it wasn't in when we were getting into Child's Play 3 is when he actually started becoming like more human, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
actually,
And
he starts having
kind of
more
bleed.
in himself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe, but I mean, yeah. For I never understood when someone like when he would jump on someone and like his legs are kicking
His
and they're
legs.
trying to like push him off, and you're kind of like it's a doll.
Fairly big doll, though.
It's a toddler size doll. Is it kind of?
Especially when he's running.
Yeah.
And next up, a film that's become very culturally, especially as we mentioned earlier about the real life horror situation. They Live, Obey.
Consumerism, control, governments,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Roddy Piper, amazing, very cool, and like that fight scene that seems to
amazing.
last for like 20 minutes, but it keeps you enjoy it. Like it's such a like, what's the line in that movie? I came here to chew bubblegum
Kick
and
ass.
kick
Yes.
And
My
I'm
mother.
Bubblegum. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, it's
One
pure
of those movies
80s
like it's like
happening.
Duke Nukem. It's like he's
Yeah.
that voice and you hear that quote.
Yeah.
I think imagine if social media had been around when that movie came out. I mean, like you'd get fanatics. Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
John,
like,
you
isn't
need
it
to
kind of
start writing the
representative of what?
script now on that one. You
Uh,
should write the script on that one, the remake. Social media. They live.
Oh,
Is it a horror? Is it not a horror? I don't care. It's a fucking iconic film, and if it's Halloween, it deserves to be included.
if it makes you like think.
Crow.
Oh yeah, so that's my shit.
The Crow has to be included in any Halloween collection.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Well, again, another one of those movies that's like, it's just an iconic movie.
Oh yeah,
Like that's how you would describe it. And it could, I don't know what genre it fits into. The soundtrack, the
Yeah.
acting, the atmosphere, everything is perfect.
but it
It's
is
just-
yeah. Like I
Yeah.
have that movie on like every format except the actual fucking film it was printed on. I have the books, comics, the whole works and stuff like that, and like it just has a certain vibe and tone that it encapsulates that era, but it's also like it's so I don't know how the color palette, everything about it has this richness to it, and then you can kind of count it as horror because it's about basically someone to come back from the dead. You can do depends on stuff like that, and then it's getting revenge, so it's the whole supernatural vibe to it. But it's one of those movies where it's just for me it's perfect. I can't fault it.
Yeah, it's a
It's more
perfect
like
movie.
it's from the soundtrack to like just Brandon Lee, and it's just how I just I don't know. I can't describe it.
Lightning in a bottle.
I
Yeah.
can never,
Yeah.
I can never remember this correctly, but the scene, like obviously where he died.
Yeah,
That is that actually included in the movie, or did they take that out? Because I can never remember.
it's vague
Uh,
because I know
yeah,
in the scene he gets shot. I don't
He
know
jumps
what.
on the table and gets shot, doesn't he? They
Yeah,
all
it's like
shoot him. Yeah.
part where they break in, like the gang break into the apartment and they have them all spread out, and then it's like that scene is where he got shot. But I always used to be the thing where was he shot on top of the table?
I thought that was
You
okay.
can
But no,
see him
it's like
falling. You can see him literally falling.
aye.
For
But
a second, you can see him going down, and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh fuck!"
that's what the thing. But it's the one in the first search thing. They go in the apartment and they have him spread like his arms out and they point blank. I think that's the shot that ultimately killed him. And it's
Mark, you have that Eric Draven look going on as
I've
well.
got him.
So-
I've got him. I can't see him in the camera. I've got him tattooed on me. I've got.
Oh.
I've got.
Yeah.
It's like the.
I can see that you have the look. You
I
have
can't
that
help
look.
it. It's the problem. Like you dress up as a crow. It's like no, I just have that look. It's that kind
Yeah.
of thing. No matter what, it's like you doing Draven again for Halloween. Like no, I'm doing something else. It doesn't matter what. I can't escape it. But like, it's not a bad compliment. But it is that movie is just. And I remember watching it from a young age, and it just shaped. It's like the style or like the music. The music alone was just enough to be like a gateway into like alternative music and just like, oh, this is The Cure, Nine Inch Nails, Pantera's on the soundtrack. You have all these different range of music, and then just overall tone. I think when I was making my band, I was like, I want to be the band that's playing in the club during that kind of. I always have that idea when I'm talking to you. It's like the band's playing in the club Trash in the movie, or the boardwalk in Lost Boys. It's that type of vibe I always want to go for. It's
Yeah.
that's the mission statement.
And we kind of have to include this one: Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh yeah.
Vampire movies. Yeah. Bram Stoker's Dracula is cool apart from Keanu Reeves' accent in it.
Yeah.
What was up with that?
Yeah. But that's one of those things where it's like, I think that's the closest adaptation to Dracula. I think everyone else is kind of like the tiptoe along certain things, but apparently that is the closest one. Where that's the blue flames. They got the whole love it. Like I know it's very close to it, but that's an odd movie where it's like just atmosphere and it's just tone and the setting and like just the whole sets themselves. The Castle Dracula and the brides and Gary Oldman's just phenomenal on it too. It's just like I have this thing of if the Simpsons parody it, you know it's good. Usually, Mr. Burns is in it, so it's like you're doing something right when the Simpsons do it.
Classic.
What's the best vampire movie? What's everyone's favorite vampire movie?
Oh,
That's personally
We
my
talked
one.
about werewolves, so what about vampires?
That's past my one.
it's so hard because for me, any good vampire movie sticks to the lore. You know what I mean? You look at like Dracula, no reflection, maybe not crucifix thing, but I find there's probably one of my favorite ones was 30 Days a Night.
Yeah.
Oh, good shout, man. Good shout.
I think so. I mean, that one there kind of, yeah. I mean, like the vampires in it were just savages.
It's got that cool. It's the premise of like going to Alaska and it's 30 days a night. It's just perfect to get them there. And the comic book is phenomenal too. The artwork in it is brilliant. It's if you get a chance to check it out. And I think for me, it's this depends. Like you can go Lost Boys, you go Bram Stoker's Dracula, or you can go like a bit more arty. You can go like Only Lovers Left Alive. You can start going down this like or The Hunger with David Bowie. You can start going down these kind of like paths of what you go for. And it's like, or you go for Queen of the Damned for the soundtrack. Yeah.
I go like a cheesier route. So for me, my favorite vampire movie was Fright Night. I love Fright Night.
Oh,
so much fun, you know.
It's like perfect, it's like that perfect 80s has that kind of I like you don't get it now apart from like kind of strangers putting kids in danger or teenagers like young teenagers in danger. You don't get that anymore. Like the Goonies won't happen today, or the Fright Night won't happen. It's like putting kids in danger in horror movies is always seems to be kind of like a really fun thing because you have that innocence, you have their reaction, and you kind of like see things through their eyes, and you kind of let things slide because they're kids, and knowing like there's a vampire next door. Yeah, I don't believe you. You like you know what I mean? It's got that fun.
I love the idea of what kind of when you say that, like when you bring kids into it, you think like this movie is for adults. Like you look at like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, anything like that, and you see kids in it. But I think they're really for the kids who sneak in to see it.
Yeah,
did you know what I mean? Because they're going, oh, we go see these adult movies with all these adult problems, and then they're going, oh, hang on a second, this thing's killing kids. I should be afraid. You know what I mean? And I always like about it. Yeah.
Next up, one I put in every year is a curveball. Well, this is a real horror film, in my opinion. The way as time has passed, Idiocracy.
Oh fuck yeah!
Like they were recently interviewed about that, and they were like, "We didn't realize we were filming a documentary."
Yeah, it's that's generally frightening. It's just like you do. I watched it once and it kind of depressed me because how real some of the stuff is. So like, it's like no, I can't.
I watched it when it first came out and I hated it.
Yeah, everyone did. That was shit.
6 weeks ago, and I related to it.
Yeah.
It's just getting over time. It's getting weirder.
The IQ level is just plummeting.
When I heard like Tom Hanks and The Rock were going to run for like presidents and shit, I was like, no, that's Idiocracy. You're going too close. You're going too close to that.
The machine going up in the air, like.
Yeah.
Next up, Wishmaster. Any thoughts?
Loved it. Absolutely loved the first one. Yeah, I mean,
first one.
Yeah, the first one. Well, hang on, right? The first one and bits of the second one, right? I loved it. I thought the voice was perfect.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
I loved it. At the start, they show like back in
As You Wish.
Is it Jinn? It's that evil like Jinn, and it's inside a crystal, and it's got that. What's another kind of thing where it's got that cool practical, like the actual genie himself is just cool looking too, and that voice is just
the way he approaches people. He was like, "You want to escape?" And it was, "Yeah, I do." And next thing he'd be locked in a water container with a rope all around him. Like it was just like, don't wish anything off him.
It was, but his voice as well. His voice was just
that smile.
There would be mini splendor. I loved it. Yeah, I tried watching the third and fourth one, but he doesn't even be the Wishmaster, and he's just himself. The actor. So first and second.
Probably didn't want to go in all the makeup, and it was probably cheaper as well.
Yeah,
probably so.
Leave it at the first one. And one of my all-time favorites, Event Horizon.
Yeah.
That's a fucking proper one.
Like Lovecraftian sci-fi mix kind of.
Warhammer. It's like Warhammer, Lovecraft, and it's all this kind of like. It's one of those things where like, it's one of those movies that didn't get received well when it came out, and it's got a really cult following, and like, I don't know if it's a director's cut where I've always heard that there's rumors of like,
No, can never happen. The screen it's wrecked. They found the reels, but they're unusable. Like.
oh yeah, because I've always seen like that scene where like all the torture kind of Hellraiser scenes. There's a lot more of that, and it's just
Yeah.
like I always wanted to see that kind of just to see what they
I-
found.
I found that it was a movie that it really requires your attention. But if you give it your attention, it pays off. You know, there's no
Yeah.
like kind of casual humor, like, hey, what's going to go on here? You know, if
Yeah,
you really sit down with it, it's quite well done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's even more weird now that a scientific theory has come out only recently that if you go into a black hole, you don't actually just get destroyed; you go somewhere else.
they do
So the
same-
whole
they do
theory
the-
that maybe the ship that could create a black hole and move through space is actually becoming reality over time,
they did
which is
that,
really
the-
weird.
The Sam
Hopefully
Neill
they don't ever do
poster.
it.
Did the same thing. Did the Sam Neill did the poster of like how it works. They did that in Interstellar, and I remember watching Interstellar. And all, that's from Event Horizon.
We're going to speed up a bit now, lads, because we've got a few more to cover through. Blair Witch Project.
Nah,
Nah.
not for me. No.
I
was,
think I liked it. I like it. I thought very cool. Like the payoff at the end, it makes you work for that payoff at the end where you see the guy stand in the corner and then you're like, what's going on? And then it dawns on you he's sitting in the corner like the kids, and there was probably something behind him. I thought it was cool. I don't think it's like the sort of movie you watch like once every 10 years.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like a one and done. I've seen it. I can move on.
Yeah,
I
thing
I
like
just felt it just lacked atmosphere. You know what I mean? It's just I
the
I
Blair
watched
Witch,
it.
I think, was more like the making of it, like all like the fake websites, the whole like planning behind it to make people believe that this was actual real. Like that alone, like the marketing behind it was like
Yeah.
genius,
Yeah.
and then like they
He
release
did
it
a
then.
cannibal holocaust on it.
Yeah, and it's like the thing where it's like you have fake websites for like fake missing people, and it's you're sitting watching these kids, people going camping, like right, get to the point, and you start thinking, are they actually learning how to kill her? Is there no witch at all? You start thinking like, are they actually trying to kill this girl, or you start pitching together, is there actual witch? Is there not? They kind of like it leaves your mind open if you want to go down that road, but
That's a good concept. And of course, this was a film that was very popular back in. It's still going to this day. But Scream.
meh.
Yeah.
It's dated. It's dated. I with the new one coming out, I'm one of those people. If a new movie comes out and it's part 5, I'm gonna start at the first one and watch all of them, you know.
yeah,
And but even if I've seen them, but I remember I put on Scream only a while ago, and it's just too.
I think
It's-
Scary Movie ruined it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
What
yeah.
Scary Movie spoofed it, and you can't really take it seriously because all you hear is like WhatsApp, and you hear like you
Yeah.
can't, but like pet
And I think
Scary
it's
Movie
like
stuff.
it's almost like they're trying to do those scenes seriously, and it's not
Yeah.
working now. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the Ghostface guy is like it seems like he's so in bits so incompetent and clumsy and tripping over himself and falling. So he's a little bit harder to take serious as
It's almost
horrible.
slapstick. It's almost slapstick. Him slipping on things. It's like
yeah.
and my problem with like those movies, like no one goes for a headshot. It's always legs and body. No one goes just point blank there.
Shoot him in the head.
You shoot him in the head. Dawn of the Dead. Shoot him in the head. That's it.
It did have that nice iconic scene. I think it was the second one, wasn't it? And they did it in Scary Movie too. You're one trying to get through the cat door.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Songs of the Lambs.
Great movie. I thought it was great.
Classic.
It was like a 90s horror movie, wasn't it? It was early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And like I enjoyed all the sequels to it as well. I thought they were all pretty good. It's kind of like for me, like I would consider Silence of the it's kind of like it's like intelligent person horror.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what
Highbrow horror kind of thing.
highbrow horror. Yeah, definitely.
Isn't it the only horror movie to win like Best Picture or
Yeah.
some big award? Was it Best Picture?
I think it was like a song up there, but I've noticed like certain horror films, like if they're more drama based and less jump scare gore, they seem to do well like with the Academy and more awards. So you have like Exorcist, Omen, anything that's not like hostile. So you have like Sense of the Lambs that has a bit more like serious baseness. Like so you almost like Sense of the Lamb and Seven kind of go hand in hand almost too. You kind of get that vibe. But Sense of the Lamb's got that kind of iconicness to it. You have, Hannibal Lecter and stuff like that. And then
There was an old movie that came out actually, and I think it was originally the sequel that came out, Red Dragon.
was it Mindhunter
Yes.
or something like that? Yeah.
No, not Manhunter.
Manhunter, sorry, yeah.
Manhunter. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it had somebody else playing Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, it just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, Anthony Hopkins just he'll live on, I think, with that.
Yeah.
I love it.
We've already touched on it, so we won't need to touch on it again. Dog Soldiers.
Brilliant.
The only thing I have to mention is the scene where the guy, like the commander, is drunk and he's lying down and he goes, "Hit me, knock me out," and your man hits him and he sits back up and he goes, "Ah, yeah, pussy," and he hits him again. The guy who did that actually, he said to the director, "I'm only doing it if I'm actually drunk," and when he hit him the first time, I think he was supposed to miss or something, and that was a genuine punch and the second one, I think the one that knocked him out, he landed, yeah. And your man didn't ever remember filming the scene. That I loved that.
Oh, I love that film. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Don't they borrow like the idea of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears for the movie?
Pretty much.
Like they go into the house and they eat their food and they sleep in the beds. And it's so good. Like it's so clever and so much. Like the dialogue is so like bantery and funny and back and forward, but it's also genuinely scary. And what's a really cool thing I find about it, and like about a lot of horror movies, they build really good characters that you're really interested in, and when they die, it sucks. You're like, oh no.
That's the reason why I love anything to do with Stephen King. Nearly everyone is character driven. You get a sense of who they are, and that makes a movie to me. For Dog Soldiers, I agree. Yeah.
And it's nothing more funny than a lad with a Scottish accent saying "fuck off" while hitting a fucking werewolf with a kettle or something.
But I was thinking Dog Soldiers got like a British Predator vibe. It's got very like Predator, and it's got that kind of like, I don't know, Commandos instead of the jungle, it's the woods. Instead of Predator, it's werewolves. It's got that kind of, it works in that context too as well.
Yeah, it kind of ripped off everything, but it made it good.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We're going to do a bunch of quick fire ones here now. Horror comedies. You either yay or nay. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
Nope.
Never seen
it? No.
Right, that's okay. Cockneys versus Zombies.
Loved it. Absolutely loved that movie. That was well done.
That was proper funny. Proper funny. The baby scene.
I just love the guy with the crutches or the Zimmer frame running away from them. That was a great movie.
Tremors.
Loved it. The first one especially. Hard to track down the sequels though.
The sequels are actually decent, so they're underrated.
Yeah, I'm dying to see them, to be honest, because I really did like the first one.
And we've got a trilogy. They're an official trilogy. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End.
The Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah.
Loved every single one. Hot Fuzz was one of my favorite movies for a very long time. I think like I could turn the sound down and act it out for you. But yeah, absolutely loved all three of them.
Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant films. Just really, really well done. And we're thrown back to the 50s era. Eight-Legged Freaks, anyone?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I like that. I went to see that in the cinema.
So did I. Good, just good crack, like.
Yeah, it was.
It's like it's no arachnophobia though.
Yeah.
No.
It's got more like you said, like them, giant ants, but giant spiders.
Yeah, it has that vibe.
Zombieland.
Yeah. Loved it. Absolutely. I mean, Zombieland and Zombieland Double Tap. Two of the most modern excellent films. Instead of Woody Harrelson, like if you made that in the 80s, that was Bill Murray. It was Bill Murray. Like, and I think they knew that when he leaned into it. Loved it.
Right. Return of the Killer Tomatoes. Have you
Easy
seen that?
fun.
No.
Easy fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just good crack. Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh man, that like for me, that's one of the best comedies made in the last 20 years.
It's
Love
so
it.
well done.
It is. It's so
The writing is excellent.
and the acting, like now the like Tucker and Dale, the acting is just spot on. Yeah,
Nailed it.
absolutely love that movie. I recommend that to anybody who hasn't seen it.
Oh
I mean,
god,
like,
yeah, brilliant
if I'm
film.
talking about movies, Tucker and Dale comes up all the time.
The Dead Don't Die.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, it's I like Iggy Pop in it and Tilda Swinton, but it's so dry. It's hard to recommend to anybody, like to people.
Wait,
It's
is
just
that the one where Iggy Pop plays a zombie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
You either like it's Marmite, that film. You either like it or you don't.
Yeah, it's really that.
We'll have to get an Irish film in here.
Oh.
Grabbers.
I only watched this recently. I saw it when it first came out, and I was like, "That is just stupid," but it's actually not bad. And the reason I like that movie, it reminds me of, there was an Australian movie that was nearly similar but much better called Feast.
Yeah.
I think it was Australian. Has anybody seen Feast?
No.
Yeah, I've seen Feast. Yeah, it was ludicrous. It
It
like
was.
yeah, it had, and doesn't it, like, it's the one where it builds up this guy at the start as the hero, and then he immediately just gets killed.
Yeah, I'm gonna save today. I'm gonna get you all through this, and he's killed in the next scene. But
Yeah,
for me, yeah, that the Grabbers was a lot like that. I mean,
We're
it
going to
didn't
keep
do.
these up for a few minutes. Speed fire up with the funny type horrors.
Okay.
Arachnophobia.
brilliant,
Yeah.
amazing.
I fear the remake.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't like. It's one of those lightning in a bottle movies. I'd give a shout out to Julian Sands. Julian Sands, R.I.P.
Yeah.
One of my favorite actors. The Warlock movies are some of my favorite horror movies of all time as well. A very cool actor. Just had such amazing presence.
And it was a shame it was marketed so badly in America, because in Europe it was marketed as a pure horror film, but it looked pure campy in America, and it just didn't really work. It's grown over time, but it classic.
Yeah,
Gremlins.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Best
amazing.
Christmas movie
Yes.
ever made.
Yeah. That scene with the chairlift.
Yeah.
The scene where they're hatching is disgusting. It's done so well.
Brilliant.
It's in my top 3 movies. Gremlins. Yeah.
The Lost Boys.
Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pretty much perfect movie.
it's another, like, it's right up there with, like, one of the perfect vampire movies. Like,
Yeah.
And if anything of that film, there should be more saxophone in modern music.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Another Marmite horror comedy collection, House 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
Do you know?
Yeah.
It's actually on my watch list. It really is. Yeah, I haven't. I think I may have seen one as a child, but I don't remember it all.
Well, I'll tell you a bit of a quick story before we move on. The House 2, the first time I ever smoked a certain substance, what I won't say on camera, myself and another lad sat and watched this, and oh my God. The scene at the dinner table with all the people around, and I now consider you my family, and we're like, what the fuck are we watching? I have a great memories for that, just for that reason alone. The Burbs. It's a
Brilliant.
horror, it's not, but it's a fucking classic.
Yeah,
What a movie that was! Yeah, I mean, that was one. I used to watch that on videotape over and over again when I was a kid. What can you say? I thought that was brilliant. Like, and I understand what you mean. It's probably not really a horror. Like, it's more of a comedy, but it's so relatable. Brilliant. Yeah.
I want to kill everyone.
Everyone.
Satan is
It's
good.
good.
Satan is bad.
Critters.
It's not Gremlins.
Gremlins rip off, but it's good.
First one is good. After that, it just got silly.
Oh yeah,
Leonardo
definitely.
DiCaprio's first movie, Critters 3.
Yeah.
Right. We're on to the good one now. So before this one, The Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Even like for me, it's oh my God, Army of the Dead. Sorry. Yeah, third one, loved it.
Yeah, the TV show is very good too. It's like it's fun to watch like Ash as a character when he starts off in the first one. He's so sheepish and kind of doesn't know what to do, and then by the second one, he's just full blown like macho man. It's just he knows what he's doing. He's confident, and the third one, it's full comedy. And then Ash versus Evil Dead's the same too. He's got this. I know if people are saying it's like because he got so much head trauma, it's made him brave or something like that. Or he's just been so traumatized, he becomes the Ash we all know.
Yeah, the one thing I loved
First
about
one
that
is totally very different. The
Oh,
first
yeah.
one is like it's
Great.
it's a hard
Yeah.
like scary movie like and then the other two kind of lean more into the slapstick comedy and everything.
Oh, yeah.
They're all cool. They're all
Well, the
good.
second one is basically a comedic version of the first one.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a comedy remake.
And Army of Darkness, I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Army of Darkness. Sorry, that was escaping me there. Army of the Dead. I was saying, yeah, Army of Darkness was.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, for me that was the best one.
And I find it kind of a bit. We're going on a bit now, so we're going to speed up for the last few. Just to
Lightning round.
a film I personally love, Room 1408.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Excellent
Yeah,
movie.
brilliant.
Again. Yep.
American Psycho. What can you say?
I watched it 2 days ago.
Another perfect movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
fun.
watched it 2 days ago again. Excellent acting by Christian Bale.
Fun how it's become a meme in its own self now. It came out so serious, and then people are just memeing on it now, and it's just people like identifying with Christian Bale scenes of him walking. Like it's just fun seeing how people like latch onto it.
Yeah.
Best ending to a horror film ever, in my opinion. The Mist.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh,
That ending, man.
Yeah.
iconic. Stephen King said it's the best ending he never wrote.
Yeah. It's just as soon as you hear that Deck and Dance song play, you know it's over. It's just it's so tragic.
Oh, it was so good. That was one of the best endings in movie
Yeah.
history.
And the crazy cult woman getting them all converted as the film goes
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I think there's
She
two
was the
versions
real
of it.
bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
There's
tried
two
to
versions of it,
fuse
where it's
that
like the black
in.
and white version too. I don't know if it's like many people say they watch it in black and white because it has that certain feel like the 50s movie because of the creatures outside. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's Blu-ray has the black and white version or DVD has the black and white version, but I know there's a black and white version. Yeah.
This is a very underrated film. Very underrated film.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
And we're touching on, you touched on Cloverfield earlier, but I thought 10 Cloverfield Lane was a proper, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Psychological.
Claustrophobic horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't associate it with Cloverfield and the Cloverfield Paradox, and for me, it's a perfect movie that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Best to leave it like that. And another one, a series that had potential to go somewhere, but it didn't. The Evil Superman film, Brightburn.
Oh yeah, that was
Good movie.
I think it was like if you watch that, it's like Baby Homelander from The Boys. It works so many things like that.
Yeah, it's a shame that they were planning a whole series with that. They were introducing a lot of characters and just didn't. It done well on its budget, but it just never went anywhere.
Yeah, it was one of those things because James Gunn was doing it, and it was his version of Superman, and it's like right, we'll just get him to do the new Superman. It's kind of like they don't want to be like, and they don't want independence overshining the big two, so it's like we'll just take him and make him do his own thing.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
A series I'm personally not a fan of at all, outside the first two, but they have to be included. So,
Yeah.
nah.
Love the ending of the first one. The twist was brilliant, but yeah, they just went on too long.
Yeah, I think I always thought Saw was like 7, but for like a lot dumbed down and a bit more gore centric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it.
And we have to, of course, touch on that Chester Bennington, who sadly passed away, was in Saw 3.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I
He's got the best scream. And that's so when anybody else doing their death scream, it's like, okay, when you hear Chester doing his death scream, it's like, yeah, that's
And to be honest, when we look back, it all makes sense now why he was screaming so much. Shame. One of my favorite Asian films ever, Train to Busan.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
No,
True.
do you know, there's something about Korean film that is just above and beyond. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of Train to Busan was excellent, and then you have movies like Old Boy and I
Oh,
Saw the
yeah.
Devil. Like, they are some real psychological horror
Yeah,
films.
Old Boy especially. It's like you don't spoil it for anybody. So watch Old Boy and like why? So just watch Old Boy, and it's
Yeah.
like
We're down to our last four now. Our last few, should I say? Quick fire again because we're conscious of time. Conjuring, first one, the first two, really good.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
the second one bothered me because if you go onto, I think it's on YouTube actually. There's a show called The Enfield Haunting that was
Oh,
made
yeah.
years before, and it sticks more to the original story. Like there was no nun, you know what I mean?
aye.
And it was that for me was just way better than The Conjuring.
I think Conjuring's got the Conjuring universe attached to it now, so you kind of
It's
first
it's
one-
getting like Marvel now.
yeah, because they're all kind of connected now.
Mhm.
Of course, we'll have to touch on it before we go.
Oh yeah,
The
Tim Burton's
90s
is
movie
phenomenal.
is better, I think.
The
The 90s
90s one is
miniseries.
impossible to get. That's why I have that one.
I loved Tim Curry as it, but I also
Yeah.
like Bill Skarsgård as it. You know, as Pennywise the clown, because both of them were terrifying.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were both terrifying for kind of different reasons.
Oh
I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
You know, but also really, really, really well done.
yeah. They like when they showed I think the first It in Derry, they had like a wee special message because Derry and then Derry and It. They're like, oh, we know Derry's good for Halloween. It was just fun seeing them acknowledge that Derry. It's just like I'm surprised
Yeah.
Derry hasn't played up on it a lot more.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the second one was a lot better at this time around, though.
I love the bit where Stephen King says to like the character that's basically based on himself, I loved all your books, but I hated all your
Oh yeah,
enemies.
Down to the last few. The last three are very modern. A Quiet Place.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
It had a good premise.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you focus because there's no hardly any sound, so you makes you pay attention because you can't look away for like a few seconds and you might miss something. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, attention.
And before we move on, should I say, I've got a funny story. I used to work in a cinema, as I said earlier, and that film is silent, as we know. And the cinema I worked in, the soundproofing was terrible, and I mean terrible. And there was people coming out complaining, saying they could hear the other screen.
Yeah,
And a supervisor, I swear to God, she sent me upstairs and said, "Turn it up." I was like, "How the fuck can you turn up silence?"
it happened.
I swear to God, she made me turn the volume up way higher. Like, oh, we have to get this film louder because people are complaining. It's silence. You can't.
What happened in my work too? Remember what was that silent movie that came out? The Artist. That was a silent movie, won like an Oscar or something. People that said the same thing. The movie didn't realize it was a silent movie, and you get that thing when any horror movie, especially in certain screens, it's like super quiet and then super loud. So you go up, turn the volume up when it's super quiet, and all of a sudden it's blasting everybody. And then when it's so you're constantly juggling the sound levels. but-
Every fucking amp on the screen is suddenly not working.
yeah, it's a,
And the last two, a recent one I really enjoyed. It's shit, but I enjoyed it. I don't care. Cocaine Bear.
that's fun.
Oh yeah, that was excellent. I mean,
Just good fun, like
Yeah.
yeah, I love the fact that it was based on a true story.
very,
And I love
very
where they went
loosely.
with it, like, you know, I
like
think where
the,
you put that, like, what could have happened, and it was just it was
The R.I.P. Ray. I can't pronounce his name. Like what's Ray Lolita? They call him Goodfellas.
Yeah, Lolita.
Like it's just like R.I.P. and he gets mauled by a bear in it. It's just that's the last thing he's been in. He gets killed by a bear in it.
Sorry, Ray Liotta. Yeah,
Liotta, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, real Iota. But it was just a good bit of fun, and I got it on sale. So, and it's got an alternate ending and stuff, so that's okay.
Which
And
is a bit
last but no
boring,
means least, the last modern one I own, which is again Megan, which I thought we touched on earlier with Child's Play. It's with the creation, like with the way AI is going now. Because recently there was a conference done. This is completely covered up. I managed to find it by pure chance. They done a conference and they were asking the AI for like can you all these questions, and the AI was saying, well, we can do things better, and we think we can make humanity better if you let us put us in charge. Like that's Skynet level shit, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
is that
And this
that
film touched on
AI
it
girl?
perfectly too,
Yeah,
because she created Megan with absolutely no regard for what she was doing. It was just create this fucking thing,
yeah.
and then wonder why it all went wrong because they were playing with things they don't understand. So
It's the Jurassic Park thing. You're meddling with stuff you don't know, like you have no understanding of it.
AI is very, very strange as well, though. Like I find it's very like weird. There's an app I downloaded, and basically when you create an AI character, you give them certain characteristics.
Yeah,
So of course I started testing this, pushing it to the limit, and I was like, okay, you're like a heroin junkie or something like that, and all you talk about is drugs, and like you're right, and there's like hello, and then it starts coming back with, oh man, I just smoked up a bunch of crack, and I don't know, it's very, very weird because I found that if you're playing around with it, it can feel very natural.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like conversation starts to flow, and that's terrifying.
You'll find that like in certain like websites nowadays, you like, oh, you want to talk to somebody, you're talking to like an AI chat box.
Mhm.
It's just sometimes that you forget. You're like, I'm
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
like, typing away. It's like realizing this isn't a human. This is so some Skynet it's like taking over.
yeah, when you've got all the godfathers of AI coming out and saying, you got to slow down here, like you don't know what you're doing, you've got to just fucking pace this out, like it's not a space race all over again, like this is,
Yeah,
you're messing with stuff here you don't understand.
well, especially with deep fakes and stuff like that, getting so close, it's getting kind of frightening with that stuff too, where it's going to be threatening people with deep fakes and stuff and AI voices and
Well, the most terrifying thing about it, before we finish up now, is if you get an AI and you ring someone, say, and they ring my mother tomorrow, and they got 3 seconds of a voice recording.
oh yeah, they
can ring then and say, oh, can you give me my social welfare number or my fucking bank number or something? I forget it.
Yeah.
And if you hear me talking over the phone with the AI, you assume that it's real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you can hear like there's the things that you see on TikTok now where it's like James Hetfield singing Queen, where you hear Kurt Cobain singing like
Yeah.
you hear stuff like
Yeah.
that where it's like they're just taking things and some of them are close, but then it's also like so it's not there yet. But the fact that it's getting to that point where it's like that's kind of weird.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, like it's really strange when you see the Beatles releasing new music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, and before we finish up, this will be going live on Halloween, Samhain as it's known. I probably butchered that pronunciation of that because I'm terrible at Irish. But I want to finish up by saying there's a load of shit going on in the world right now. And the origination of Halloween in Ireland was a Passover. So we're just going to, if it'll work, it's not working, is it? We're going to light a bit of a fire for all the people in the world right now. Because if you look around the world, man, the amount of fucking, it's ridiculous what's going on. People are probably getting bombed and shot at right this second.
That's why we watch horror movies.
Exactly.
Like it's like their escapism to the horror which you see when you turn on the news or whatever.
Yeah, so we're just going to light a bit of a fire there and wish them all a happy Passover, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
Thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone for coming on. Thanks to Mark, John, and Gareth. We were supposed to have a few more coming on, but I think we had enough in the end, and we're over 2 hours in now, so time to go to bed. Thanks for watching, and we'll be doing this again next year. Thanks very much, Nat.
Thanks
Bye.
for having us. All right.